Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just decided to do something a little different this week. Mainly because there aren't any other movies this week that I feel the need to review, I decided to review a classic film that a lot of people seem to really love. Since it's getting a sequel next year, I figured it was no better time than now to do it anyways. So I'm gonna do Space Jam, starring Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes. So I'm sure the first question some people might ask is how did the Warner Brothers executives come up with this idea? Well, throughout the 90s, Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes appeared in various commercials for Wheaties, Nikes, and basically anything else that they could shill with them. And of course, by combining two things that kids absolutely love, cartoons and basketball, the commercials were a massive hit. So they decided to put them in a movie to essentially cash in on this idea. So Space Jam is a fictionalized retelling of Michael Jordan's time when he left the NBA the first time he left, and his return in 1995. Only here, not only do we actually see his struggling efforts with him playing baseball instead of basketball, but we also see that in this universe, the reason he went back to the Chicago Bulls to lead to a legendary season that was done in the Great Last Dance was because he had to save the Looney Tunes from becoming theme park attractions at a place called Moron Mountain. Yeah. So the plot in the film is pretty darn ridiculous, but then again, it takes Looney Tunes logic to the next level for a lot of it. So the plot is definitely going to be completely fine for child audiences, but adults are definitely going to either not they're either going to say it's completely ridiculous, a point that even the movie itself makes fun of at one point, or they'll just roll along with it. Personally, since I grew up with it as a kid and since I knew the plot going in was about as ridiculous as it sounds, I decided to just roll with it. But the film also ends up being an unintentional period piece when it comes to a lot of its elements. Mainly because the film oozes the 90s throughout, from its hip-hop laden soundtrack with Quad City DJs' Space Jam song, the R. Kelly song, I Believe I Can Fly, Seal's Fly Like an Eagle, which I love the soundtrack, but it's distinctly 90s. With the amount of product placement that's in the movie, with Wayne Knight saying like 5 or 6 product placements in one sentence at one point. With the film introducing Lola Bunny, who I heard a lot of people either really like or really hate, but personally I enjoy her character. I understand a lot of people feel she's over-sexualized and that she's really only there for cynical marketing to appeal to girls, rather than actually trying to change up the status quo of the Looney Tunes. But, I like the fact that she's a good player and she doesn't allow anyone to call her doll. But, for little kids in the 90s, I think she's alright. And also, I think the 90s edge to it also comes through in the effects, because for some of them, they look absolutely great even today. The mix of hand-drawn and live action was essentially about as good as Who Framed Roger Rabbit when it comes to how well it's integrated. I know some people say Michael Jordan's acting is terrible and wooden, but you have to understand he's a basketball player, not an actor. And for an actor who has to essentially act in front of nothing, since the Looney Tunes are animated characters, it's difficult to act when you have nothing to act off of. So I think he actually did all right. Plus, you can actually thank this film for getting Michael Jordan to get back into basketball for a while, considering that Warner Brothers allowed him to practice in his very own dome for a while making the film. So, in some respects, you can actually thank the Looney Tunes for him coming back, which is kind of surreal, I know, but it's part of why this movie is so enjoyable. The fact that even Bill Murray, who said that the script for Ghostbusters 3 was never good enough, but accepted this script for him to get a random cameo at the end, the fact that he's in this, as well as Wayne Knight Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, etc., kind of lets you know that this is kind of the film that was made at the right time for all of this to even be possible. So, overall, I'd say Space Jam definitely doesn't exactly work as a great film nowadays, but I do think it's an interesting guilty pleasure for me. It's not exactly great, but an interesting time capsule. Which makes me wonder how they're going to handle Space Jam 2 with LeBron James in the main as the main lead. Oh yeah, and the Nerdlucks are great villains too, especially in their Monstars form. Their effects are also pretty good. But the slapdash CGI for some of the scenes lets you know the film's aged quite well too. If they're gonna make a Space Jam 2, don't you think they should allow Michael Jordan to have a cameo in it at least? Yeah, so overall, Space Jam is definitely a guilty pleasure that I'm gonna give a 7 out of 10. See you next time.